Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
This never should have happened in the first place. Absolutely. I mean, that's like the standard.
After 4 days without clean drinking water in Poway, there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel for people living there. Good evening, I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Our 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is in Poway, and city leaders say the water should be safe to drink again by the end of the week. Anthony.
Well, the water test today went well, but they have to test it again tomorrow and Thursday before the water can be deemed safe. Now, the city's been giving out bottled water here to residents since the boil water notice advisory went into effect over the weekend, and they're going to continue to do that until this whole thing is resolved. Cases of bottled waters drew lines of cars outside City Hall Tuesday. Since Saturday, families are choosing to be safe rather than sorry.
So right now, yes, we have bottled water for everything.
Chris Holps has an 8-year-old with a pregnant wife at home. With the boil water advisory in effect, he's not taking any chances.
It's very frustrating.
People's health is potentially at risk.
Some came to City Hall to tell city leaders there's been a lack of information since Friday, when families started noticing discolored water coming out of their sinks and showers.
If they could communicate and explain the situation, it would go a long way towards keeping this community, informed and, ready to fix the problem and move on. But that hasn't happened.
City officials say Poway's water woes could be over by the end of the week.
We have a couple of tests that we have to get performed, and the state has to check those out and approve them.
Jessica Parks is with the city. She says the rainwater entered the city's clean water supply through an opening that's meant to push out overflow water.
Somehow that door got ajar, and instead of water being pushed out, the storm drain filled up and storm water went into the clear well.
Crews have now fixed that problem.
We're not exactly sure how it happened, but we've guaranteed that it won't happen again because we've sealed it shut. It's not opening anymore.
Now the city is still tallying up all the costs of these bottled waters, plus all the overtime hours that city workers have put in. They estimate that it could cost well over $100,000, but they do have emergency funds to help pay for that. We're reporting live in Poway. Anthony Pura, 10 News.
It's been a long 4 days there. Thank you, Anthony. Meantime, business owners are only getting more frustrated, saying that the water crisis is chipping away at their bottom line. Round Table Pizza was one of the few restaurants that was open today. The dough and the sauces were sent in from their Rancho Bernardo store. The menu was limited. The drinks were all bottled. Across town, the owner of Pacific Pizza has lost thousands of dollars.
Trying to get things rolling, get cash flow rolling and stuff, and then when you lose 2 or 3 days of sales, and then everybody still expects all their bills have to be paid, rent has to be paid. I mean, if it continues, it could be catastrophic.
He is hoping his employees can withstand the loss of income. Palomar Medical Center was also forced to cancel surgeries because of the water crisis. For any breaking updates on the major stories, such as the Poway drinking water crisis, you can download the 10 News mobile app. There is a free version available in the App Store.
All right, another winter storm is also heading into San Diego County. Our meteorologist Angelica Campos is here tracking when the rain's going to hit. Could be a wet morning commute too.
That's right, Steve. It's going to be pretty heavy in the morning hours, so not just wet, but also very slick, and even some flash flooding could also be a concern. As we break it down hour by hour, overnight it will be a problem, but it will be after 6 a.m. and all the way through the early part of the afternoon. Already we've seen a couple of showers move through the area, but it will become a lot more widespread by morning and also becoming heavier. As you drive around town tonight, the weather is the 5 or the 15. There's still going to be some areas of rain, but again, it's fairly light. Rain will become heavier with a flash flood watch in effect starting at 6 a.m. through tomorrow evening.
Thank you, Angelica. Questions still remain after East County Congressman Duncan Hunter pleaded guilty to campaign finance fraud today. 10 News reporter John Horn was inside the courtroom when the stunning admission was offered to the judge.
I failed to monitor and account for my campaign spending. I made mistakes, and that's what today was all about.
Congressman Duncan Hunter striking a completely different tone outside federal court Tuesday. The East County congressman had just pleaded guilty to the major count in his indictment that he conspired with his wife Margaret to misuse more than $150,000 in campaign funds and falsify reports. Hunter spent the last year fighting the charges as a partisan witch hunt, saying they were the product of a, quote, deep state. However, in striking the plea deal, Hunter avoids a January trial that could have made embarrassing details public, including those of alleged extramarital affairs. Federal prosecutor Phil Halpern said the government would seek a prison sentence for Hunter, which leads to questions of how much time he would serve. Hunter is one of President Trump's biggest, most long-standing supporters, and this week said the president needs all the support he can get right now. Still, Halpern said he was not worried about a possible pardon.
We are not concerned at all except about ensuring that justice is done today.
John Horn, 10 News.
The congressman faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. He is scheduled to be sentenced in March. His father, Duncan Hunter Sr., says the congressman will meet with Republican leadership next week to talk about his future.
All right, now the focus will shift to what will happen with Hunter's seat, a decision that will rest with Governor Gavin Newsom. If Hunter resigns before his term is over, the governor can leave the seat vacant. He could also call a special election that would happen between 126 to 146 days from the proclamation. Or Newsom can consolidate the special election with the regularly scheduled one in March.
Another Camp Pendleton Marine has been arrested, accused of smuggling undocumented immigrants across the San Ysidro border. His name is not being released. He's from the same division where 23 Marines were detained in front of their battalion back in July. They were charged with human trafficking, drug distribution, and weapons violations. Most of those cases fell through after a judge ruled the arrests caught on this video were unlawful. 6 of those Marines have pleaded guilty. 13 are leaving the military. The remaining 4 are still going through the legal process.
Police have identified the man they say killed another man in the Midway district on Thanksgiving. Now they need your help finding him. Take a close look. Police released these pictures today, which they say show 38-year-old Forrest Brantley. They also say that he stabbed the victim in the neck during an argument on Sports Arena Boulevard. Police also tell us that Brantley could be in San Diego or Ventura counties.
After 30 hours of public testimony and 12 witnesses, the impeachment investigation now comes down to a 300-page report. The House Intelligence Committee released that report today. It says President Trump misused the power of his office for personal political gain by asking Ukraine to investigate a political rival and obstructed Congress by stonewalling efforts to investigate.
This report chronicles a scheme by the President of the United States to coerce an ally, Ukraine, into doing the president's political dirty work.
The president denies any wrongdoing. The report will now be sent to the House Judiciary Committee, which would draft articles of impeachment. And tomorrow, the committee will hear testimony from constitutional scholars in its first impeachment hearing. You can watch full live coverage and analysis right here on ABC 10, beginning at 7 a.m.
Your voice, your vote. A big name is dropping out of the presidential race. Kamala Harris announced that she is ending her campaign because of a lack of financial resources. Harris had just made cuts to her staff in an effort to direct more resources to the Iowa caucuses. During her campaign, Harris branded herself as a progressive prosecutor who championed criminal justice reform. Democrats still in the race for president, they shared their reactions.
She is an incredibly strong public servant and has done great work already for our country in the U.S. Senate, and I know she is going to do even more.
The Trump campaign reacted by posting what some called sarcastic images on Twitter and telling ABC News, quote, "Somehow we will press on."
A new report is taking aim at the San Diego Police and Sheriff's Departments. The authors say the findings point to a major difference in how people of color and those with disabilities are treated.
Our 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena is here with what else they found and what changes they are now recommending. Lindsay.
Yeah, Steve and Kim, this report looked at data from just 2 recent years, but the people who put it together say it speaks volumes about the way our local law enforcement treats certain groups of people. Dozens of people packed into this room in the college area Tuesday night to see and hear what a group called Campaign Zero had to say.
Use of force.
They looked at data from both San Diego Police and the Sheriff's Department from 2016 to 2018 and say what they found was a pattern of discriminatory policing.
Particularly against black people and people with disabilities. And so this was really unpacking just the scope and scale of those inequities and providing policy recommendations that have been implemented in cities across the country that can effectively protect communities from this type of harm.
Samuel Sinangwe with Campaign Zero says he's analyzed many different police departments, but was still surprised by the statistics he found in San Diego, especially when it came to African Americans.
There are only 88,000 black people in this city, and there were 35,000 stops of black people in the 1 year period that we have stops data for. So it's just an extreme level of policing.
Among other things, the report looks at stops and searches and use of force by law enforcement. This chart shows San Diego County reporting the highest use of force rate compared to nearly 40 other California counties.
The data spoke volumes. The data told us the story of what was happening. And so this was just a presentation of what that story was.
Along with the report are a list of recommendations that the activists say will
reduce police violence, increase accountability, and bring San Diego to a place where we're not seeing this level of over-policing that is endangering people.
Now, we did reach out to both the police and sheriff's departments for comment on this report. The police department tells us they were made aware of the report this morning and are in the process of analyzing the info. And we have yet to hear back from the sheriff's department. In the studio, Lindsay Pena, 10 News.